Yes,
So,
everybody's loyal to Transamerica.
so
I have not submitted any other company for the last, I don't know, 2 3 years.
this changed about a month or two ago when with the new illustration software and
Uh-huh.
the way we're doing the new underwriting process. So I can show you in a second. Maybe we can go into the illustration software because it's what you need to be doing is attaching an illustration to the IGO application. That's the best way to do it. And if you don't
Well,
know how to,
I think that they're doing it. The problem is when they rate it or they.
then if it comes back other than applied for
Yes.
or
Yes.
then they have to go back in. And you have to. There's a button you can click that says revised illustration. You click that.
Oh, okay.
And just go back in and put what the underwriter told you to put in there, and
Oh,
then
nice. That would be helpful.
you can then reattach it to the illustration to the IGO for to be signed.
Uh huh.
So we
Okay.
can yeah.
You can go about it. All right. I'm gonna have Lisel here.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Monday product training. And thanks to Rick Barrett, who's going to inform us about what's new with our IUL. But before I pass on the floor to Rick, I just want to request everyone to please at least, show your beautiful faces. Because I just want to also welcome, there's a lot of new names, a lot of new agents. And so we just want to see your faces. So, hi, Ate Marie, welcome back. And I've heard this training once already, Rick, and I think there's a lot of new informations that we want our teammates to also hear. And I hope you guys have a lot of questions because this is all about the illustration, about, how to submit signed illustration after submitting an application and so please prepare your questions, and I hope Rick can answer all our questions. And go ahead, Rick. Thank you.
All right. I hope I can answer all your questions too. If not, we'll come back and make sure we do. All right. But hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's I'm not sure what's the weather like there. I say there. I mean I know you guys are all over, but in Vegas, where do you guys? Is it nice and warm still, or are you guys getting colder?
It's now in our 55 average. So yeah, we have a cold weather now, and I've heard that New Mexico is also raining. Texas is also raining right now, right?
All over. All right. Yeah, it's getting cold here in Utah as well. I think we're supposed to get even some snow tomorrow, so we'll see. Anyway, make sure you all get out and vote tomorrow, right? That's important. And look, as Lizelle said, we're gonna talk about some changes that occurred. Maybe I think it was like the first or second weekend in October. So it's about 3 weeks old now, but we've got some updates to the IULs that we are super excited about. I'm going to share my screen because there's a couple things we might have done this before, but I want to just some housekeeping items. I want to show you a couple things, especially if you're newer agents and you're just looking for either material or you're looking on. I think we went over Agent Home, before, but I just want to show people how to get in there and a couple things in there real quick, and then we'll dive into the illustration. All right, I'm going to share my screen here, and we'll get going. So you guys should all be familiar with my WFG, hopefully. I want to show you one thing in here because one of the questions that I get all the time is, hey, Rick, we have a meeting coming up next weekend or a Super Saturday, whatever the case is. Can you send me some material, right? And I could probably do that, but I would rather teach you how to do it so you can do it yourself, okay? Here's what I will tell you. Whether you come to me for material or whether you do it yourself, like I'm going to show you here, it probably requires a 2 or 3 week leeway to get your stuff. Okay, too many times agents are reaching out to me on Wednesday and saying, "Hey Rick, can you get me some stuff by Saturday?" And like, just not, it's probably not going to happen. All right. So whether you do it yourself or whether you're coming through me, make sure you give yourself plenty of time. But one thing that you can do, okay, is if you come to menu here, if you can just follow me, maybe write these steps down. Okay, but you're going to go to menu, and then you come down to recruiting and selling. You're going to come down to marketing resources. And by the way, this is through my WFG. Okay? So it's not a Transamerica website. You have to get there by going through my WFG. Okay, so again, menu, recruiting, selling, marketing resources. And then when I click on marketing resources, you're going to come straight across right here to order Transamerica materials. Okay. And if I click on that, it's going to tell me that I'm leaving the WFG website. If I just click here to continue, and this is going to take you right into our new, what we call Merrill website, but this is where you can get everything and anything material. So let me just give you an example. If I go up to the search bar and click on FFIUL, you'll see that there's all kinds of content that pops up. Spanish, whether it's the CPR, FFIUL flyer, whatever the case is. This is a really, where do we win? So you can see on the right-hand side here of anything, any piece of material, you can put the quantity in. Here's what I will tell you. If you are not an SMD, I think the max is like 25 of each piece. Okay. If you are an SMD or higher, they're going to let you get a little bit more than that. But most of this stuff is free. Okay. And so if you want it shipped to you, a physical piece shipped to you, you put the quantity in, add to cart, and go check out. Or you can just simply come in here and hit download, right? And actually download it to your computer. So, and whether it's to print off for a meeting, or just you're trying to learn some stuff for yourself, you can download those to your computer. So I go into that really quick because a lot of people don't understand that, and then there's a lot of new agents that might not know what to do there. So, all right, now let's go into real quick. And again, if you don't know what Agent Home is, hopefully you do by now because it's a few months old now. But if you don't, if you go to this secure.trend, if you look at the website I'm going to, secure.transamerica.com, right? It's going to take us into our login page for Agent Home. Okay. Now, this is basically your one-stop shop for everything Transamerica. Okay. So you're going to see probably a little bit more on my screen than you would on yours, just because I'm a home office employee. So there's going to be a little bit more that you're going to see with mine. But you're going to see here, look, here's the Life Illustrator. Here's the iGo app. There's forms. Like if an underwriter comes back and says, "Hey, Don, we need this form," right? You can go and launch that and search for that form. Our new final expense solution is right here as well. Keep in mind, I'm not sure if we've talked about this. I can't remember with this group, right? But this is new since maybe just three or 4 weeks ago with the new final expense. So the new final expense has Everest on it. Okay, so if not, we need to come back and talk about that. But my point, the reason I want to tell you about this is because if you are doing a final expense application, you are not going to go to you're not going to go to the Life Illustrator to illustrate that. You're not going to go to iGo to do the application for that. It has its own little platform right here, and this is where you do everything. And literally, you can do a final expense within 10 or 15 minutes. You walk in the door to your client, or you're doing a Zoom call with your client. You can not only pre-qual them, show them a quote, but you can actually do the whole entire application and have that policy delivered and in their hands all within 10 or 15 minutes, and you're getting paid the next day. So it is a very, very quick way. I tell leaders all the time, we're always talking about getting that new person paid as quick as we can, right? That is one of the best ways to get someone paid very quickly with that new final expense with the Everest rider attached to it. So we can come back if we haven't. Don or Lizelle, did we do that before, or have we not done that with this group? The final expense.
We have the schedule, not this week, but next on the 18th. That will be
Gotcha.
our discussion.
Oh, that's right. That's what we talked about. Okay, so we'll come back and talk more in depth about that. Okay. All right. One thing I want to show you real quick is if you go to TLIC, right? This is where you can go and navigate all of your FFIUL business, right? It will pop up here in a second, but I'm not going to dive into this. What I wanted to show you is real quick. Okay, if you go to my TLIC right here, and you go to manage profile, okay? And then you're gonna see where you have the opportunity to go and put in a personal email. So you put in your email address. But what I wanna show you is if you hit change subscriptions right here, look, a lot of times I'll have people say, Rick, my client got a notice in the mail or whatever, and I didn't get it. And you're kind of confused on what's going on. So there's different things that you can manage your subscriptions here. And a lot of people just don't know about this, right? So you see all the boxes that you can check. If you want to know when your clients' birthdays are coming up, we can send that to you. If you want to know when a list of policies that have lapsed, you can do that, right? There's one right here I think is important, outstanding requirements. Provides a detailed report of all outstanding requirements on your block of business. Okay, there's just a lot of people that don't know about this, but this can really help improve the way you're going about your business. There's one down here at the bottom where it says term policies that are getting rid that anniversary that we need to try to convert those to a permanent policy. So those type of things you can kind of navigate through here. Just wanted to show you that really quick. Okay, and then the last thing before we get into the actual presentation, I want to make sure I hit this every time. So you guys are probably sick of me saying this, but I also know that there are always new people coming on board, right? So those of you have heard this, just maybe close your ears for a minute, or but I wanted to show you Agent Central. This is everything and anything you need to know about Transamerica. Okay, this is where you're going to go searching for everything. So if I hit launch on here, and I'm not going to go through hardly any of this tonight, okay, but you'll see there's a whole section for new agents and products and sales tools and prospecting and training. There's all kinds of stuff. One thing I wanted to show you really quickly, though, is I know that Don Lizelle, you guys are all over the country, right? We are no longer, this isn't pre-COVID when most of your team is right in your backyard in the state that you are in. I mean, we are all over the country. And because of that, I want to make sure that you guys are familiar with when we see this new zone map. Okay, so this is my team. All right, so you'll see here, I am in region 4. Okay, so this light blue color. There are 11 RVPs like myself across the country. Okay, obviously some of you are from Texas, you might be from the East Coast, and you're on this training with me, which is fine. But if you ever have issues about one of your applications, or the case is, and you need to contact someone to get some help, you need to come to this map and make sure that this is all based off the agent's home address. Okay, it's not based off your business address like it used to be, right? So a lot of you probably have your business address going to Don's office in Nevada, but the way we do things now, as far as working your applications, it's all based off the agent home address. Okay, so if you're in Texas, for example, you're gonna go off number 6 here. If you're in Georgia or Alabama, you're gonna go off number 11, and all you do is scroll down. So again, this is my territory, right? So I'm the RVP. We have Jesse, who's the hybrid wholesaler. So the difference between me and Jesse is I'm the guy that tries to get out. I travel a lot. I go see the different leaders, and work that way. Jesse does a lot of training right from his home, right behind his desk. So he's doing one-on-ones or small groups. So he's another incredible resource if you're looking for a little extra training. Okay. And then I want to make sure I point out this right here. These are the new case management teams, right? So once you submit an application for all that new business, right? These are the people that you're going to contact, and you can see the numbers are all the same. It's 800-322-3796, option 1. Once you put in option 1, it's going to ask you for your code number, your WFG code number, and based off your code number, they know what case management team to get you over to. Okay. Here's what I would tell you though. You see the email address here. Try using the email address. Okay. They are really good about getting back to you, right? And I think that is the best way to communicate with them. Okay. All right. So I just wanted to point that out because a lot of people don't know that. All right. Let's get into what we want to talk about tonight. Can I just get a thumbs up from you guys? Did this switch over? You see more to love? Just want to make sure. We good? All right.
We're good, thanks.
Okay. All right. So, back, like I said, the first or second weekend in October, we introduced the kind of the next generation of IULs. Okay. It's not necessarily a new product. We've just enhanced what we currently have. All right. This is my compliance slide. I have to show it. I have to make sure you guys understand that an index universal life is not a security. Okay. It's your money's not being directly invested in the stock market. As long as you guys understand that, we can move on here. But here, so if you think about Transamerica's history, right, with IULs, it's a pretty solid history, right? In fact, we were the first carrier to offer IUL, Index Universal Life, back in 1997. Okay, so these things have been around for a while. We were there in the very beginning. They were not very popular, right? Back, people just didn't understand them. It wasn't really till the late, 2008, 2009, 10, that's when they became super popular, right? But if you think about the FCIUL, we'll talk a little bit about that. The financial choice, that was introduced almost 2 years ago, right? January 2023. It's another IUL besides the FFIUL that we have in our back pocket. Here's what I will tell you. Even though we're going to talk a little bit about it, I would almost argue and tell you that 95 to 98% of all your business, IUL business with Transamerica, is still going to be the FF, the Financial Foundation Index Universal Life, and not necessarily the FCIUL. But I will tell you maybe when that comes into play. It's a little bit of a niche product, okay? And then the one thing that we're super proud of is the fact that we have been the top selling IUL, the FFIUL has been the top selling product in the industry for the last 3 years. And I when I see that, I tell people it's my opinion that there are 2 reasons for that. Okay, and again, this is only my opinion, but I think the number one one of the reasons is it's simple, right? The simplicity of the product. We know at WFG, there are a lot of people coming into this business. You might have been a stay-at-home mom yesterday, or a police officer, or a firefighter, whatever the case is. And now all of a sudden you're here selling financial services and selling life insurance, right? If you can't understand how something works, there's probably a pretty good chance that your clients that you're trying to turn around and explain this to are not going to understand it, right? And there are a lot of products out in the marketplace today that are, let's face it, they can be complex and difficult, right? But I think the number one reason overall why we have been number one for the last 3 years is because of you. It's because of WFG. We have 75,000 life licenses across the country that are really, really good about going out and talking to Middle America about their futures and helping them protect those things that matter most. Okay, and you guys do an incredible job of that. And we thank you from the bottom of our hearts, from a Transamerica standpoint, what it is you guys do every single day. All right, so let's kind of get into this. If you think about the positioning, right, of these indexes or these new solutions, okay, we have a mix of accounts, right, to help meet the needs of all the different types of clients that you have out there. We're still going to maintain the very competitive caps that we have that provide that upside growth. Okay, and we're going to talk all about this. And of course, the downside protection. So nothing goes away. We still have competitive caps, and we still have that 0.75% on the downside. Okay. And then look, the riders are not going away either. We have that large variety of optional riders, whether it be the long-term care rider, the chronic, all the living benefits, the chronic, the critical, the terminal illness riders, and obviously the concierge planning rider that nobody else has in the industry attached to it on policies that are $250,000 or more. And then this streamlined underwriting approach, this experience that we just introduced a few months ago. We've got the new illustration software along with the new application inside of IGO. And I know there's some confusion on different times around that, but here's the point and the key to all of this, right? The sole purpose, the number one reason why we did all of this is we wanted to reduce the number of touches between an agent and their clients, right? I mean, let's face it, you go back and let's be honest, you go back a year ago, 18 months ago, and you submit a piece of business to Transamerica, and it goes through underwriting. There was a very good chance that an underwriter is coming back to you as an agent and said, hey, all right, we're going to approve this person, but now I need this form before we can do that, right? And you would have to go get that form and bring it back. And then they might say, all right, now we need this. And it was a touch and go. It was always a piece by piece, trying to get that done. The whole purpose of this is trying to reduce the number of touches between agents. And here's what I can tell you, okay? We have done that by an average of 2 weeks. We have saved individuals an average of 2 weeks on the back end by doing the stuff on the front end. I hear people tell me, hey, Rick, it's taken me 15, 20, 30 minutes longer to fill out the application. Okay, well, that's because we have these type of questions now that we are making you fill out a little bit more information on the front end, right? They're called reflexive type questionings. So if you tell me that you have a client that's a type 2 diabetic, now we're going to open up another box that says, all right, what's their A1C? What's their doctor's name? Things like that. So it might take a little bit longer on the front end, but wouldn't you rather take 15 or 20 minutes longer on the front end and save 2 or 3 weeks on the back end to get that business through? Okay, that's what's happening. All right. So look, here's bottom line is we are trying to stay on top. We want to become a top 5 carrier in the U.S. within the next 4 or 5 years. Okay, and we can't do that without being proactive and making sure that we are constantly on top of the game, right? Evolving and being innovative on all of our IUL products. And so we are welcoming in what we're referring to as the next generation of our IULs. Okay, so here are what we're referring to as the product niches. You see the red, the FFIUL. You see in purple the financial choice. Again, keep in mind, I'm showing you the purple, okay? But 95 to 98% of all your business with Transamerica is still going to be the red section that we're looking at here, okay? So if you think about the focus, it's a multi-purpose life insurance with a death benefit, right? That's what life insurance is. We have that growth potential with that downside protection, all the tax advantages that we talk about, and the riders. Okay, where the two kind of start separating themselves is the optimal design, okay, and the premium funding. And I don't think that's me that's writing on the on the board there, so I'm not sure who it is. I thought it was me at first, but I'm not touching my computer at all. So unless there's a ghost in my room. Anyway, but if you look at the optimal design, okay, when you think about the FFIUL, we think about funding at target premium or more. And I know this group, I know Donna, and you guys are really good about max funding, right? There's nothing wrong with max funding in FFIUL. It happens all the time. It's really, really good for that. But really the target market across the US is really that target premium where people are planning on paying until they retire, maybe till age 65. Again, I know there are groups that 7 pay, 5 pay, 10 pay, it works well, okay? But we're really thinking about that needs-based initial death benefit. People that are maybe trying to figure out how to replace their income or a mortgage or whatever the case is, okay? If you look at the purple, the niche product or the niche solution, if you will, for the FCIUL is really max funding over a very short period of time where there is a minimum non-MEC face amount. In other words, if you think about these two things for a FCIUL, someone that is looking to max fund and minimum death benefit. In other words, they could really care less about the death benefit. They're just looking to dump as much money into that cash value as they can, okay? That's when you might want to consider the FCIUL, but I will tell you at times, even the FFIUL can look just as good, all right? That's why I'm telling you that maybe 2 to 5% of your business potentially could be the FCIUL, but we are here really to focus on the FFIUL. As you can see here, long-term care is not going away. We still have the concierge planning rider, again, for those clients that have $250,000 or more, and then all the living benefits in there. You can see the FCIUL doesn't have the long-term care, doesn't have the concierge planning rider on it. It does have the living benefits. There's a persistency credit. And one of the things that people always ask me is, hey, do you guys have index loans or alternative loans? As you can see here, we do not inside the FFIUL. We have traditional loans. But inside the FCIUL, we do have what are referred to as index loans or alternative loans. Here's what I will tell you though. With our product, you have to wait until after year 5 to turn on that alternative or that index loan, okay? All right, so let's jump into the FFIUL2. Again, that target client, you're really looking for someone to build that multi-purpose life insurance for that multifaceted life. So middle market, juveniles, okay, are really good. And something else that we can come back and talk about, and I've talked to Lizelle about all this. There's so many things that we can come back because juveniles in of itself is a whole other presentation. We can come back and just talk about that, how to market that. A lot of times juveniles just fall in our laps because we're talking to mom and dad, and all of a sudden we realize they have kids, and hey, we might want to talk about the kids, right? But there's different ways that we can market that opportunity, especially with grandparents. Okay, and we can come back and talk about that. And here's something that you might not know that's kind of crazy to me, but 25% of all the applications that come in the door at Transamerica are juveniles. Okay, so those individuals that are 17 years and all the way down to 15 days old, 25% of that represents the applications coming in the door. That's kind of crazy. Okay, then we have obviously those emerging affluent individuals, people that might not have the money right now, but 5, 10, 15, their money keeps increasing. So those emerging affluent individuals, And then it works really, really well with foreign nationals. Again, another whole nother 45 minute to an hour train. We can come back and talk about foreign nationals. So just to give you an idea, there are 3 types of foreign nationals that I think about, okay? You have what we call non-resident foreign nationals. So those are individuals that visit the US on occasion, but they maintain their primary residence outside of the US. Okay, so they're visiting their kids or on vacation, or they have a business here, wherever. There's a whole lot of reasons why they might be here. Okay, that's a non-resident foreign national. Then we have what we call resident foreign nationals. So those are individuals that have some type of a visa that allows them to be here in the country for a permanent period of time, right? So like a student visa or work visa, things like that. There's a lot of different types of visas. There's a lot of things we can do for those individuals. And then I think one of the big ones that I think we're missing out on is the ITIN client, right? Those individuals that might not be properly documented yet, but they at least have what we call an ITIN, that individual tax identification number that allows them to pay taxes, okay? There's a lot of incredible things that we can do, and we've increased our ability to help those people. Like, for example, 18 months ago, the max that we could do was 500,000 on a face amount. We can now go up to 2 million. 18 months ago, we could not add long-term care and chronic and critical. Today, we can do that. So there's a lot of really cool things that we're able to do for ITIN clients. Okay, something else we can come back and talk about. So what have we done? So the new enhancements are going to include, and we'll talk about all these on the next few pages here. But we have a new index account. Okay, we have increased the cap rates. We have increased target premiums. We have improved an income solve that we'll show you. We have what we call a new monthly sweep date, the way that your money gets transferred into the indexes. And then, of course, the benefits and riders that we'll talk about. All right, so this is where I'm excited. We've had the FFIUL for a long time, and we've had the same strategies inside the FFIUL for a long time, okay? We have finally introduced a new index, which I'm excited about, okay? And this is, what we call a balanced uncapped index, okay? So, if you are familiar with the FFIUL and the global index and the way that we weight the global index, right? This is very similar on how we weight this new balanced uncapped index. So you can just read there with me, right? The company credits excess index interest, okay, if there is some, to this index account based on what we call a weighted average, okay, of these 3 indexes. So this uncapped index has 3 indices inside of it, okay? And so what we do is the weighted index change percentage, those are added together. So every cycle, we need to find out what the difference is between the first day that we put that client in the product, right? And then 1 year later, what's the change of all 3 of these indexes? Okay. Once we do that, we add those up together, and then we give it 113% participation rate. Okay, that's then applied. All right. That's how we're going to come up with this percentage that we're going to give to your client. Okay, so what are these 3 indexes or these indices that are inside this new balanced uncapped index? All right, 34% is always going to go to the change in the S&P 500. Okay, the one on the bottom there, 33% is going to go to the change in the Nikkei 225. I'll explain in a second kind of what that is. Okay, and then 33% is going to go to the change in what we call the Fidelity Small Mid Multi-Factor Index. Okay, that's kind of a mouthful. The Nikkei 225, the one on the bottom, that is completely new. Okay, the Fidelity SMID, or the Small Mid Multi-Factor Index, That's new to the FFIUL, but it's always been in the financial choice in the FCIUL. So it's not necessarily new to Transamerica. Okay. All right. So let's kind of talk about the Nikkei. So 33% is always going to, of the weight of that weighted average is always going to go to what we call the Nikkei 225. All right. So this is a stock index of Japan's top 225 companies. The best way to probably understand this or explain it, okay, and it's not exactly identical or it's not a like apples to apples comparison, but it does a pretty good job. If you were to say very simply that it works very similarly as the S&P 500. Okay, so the S&P 500 is the top 500 stocks in the U.S. that are traded on a daily basis, right? The Nikkei 225 are the top 225 stocks traded on Tokyo Stock Exchange in Japan. Okay, you can see there over 70 years of history. You see the companies that we all know: Toyota, Honda, Subaru, companies like that. Okay, and then you can see there it really tries to offer that lower volatility while retaining access to the Asian markets. I'm going to talk about volatility here in a second. Okay, and then 33% goes into this Fidelity Small Mid Multi-Factor Index 5%. Again, that's a mouthful. When you see the 5%, you don't think interest rate. It has nothing to do with that. It's basically the volatility control. So that's the volatility that they're trying to capture in the market. Okay. You think about the volatility in the market when you think about higher volatility. So for example, the S&P 500 usually is right around 25% volatility, which means if you look at my hands, we're doing this, we're going up and down, and it's doing that several times a week or whatever the case is, right? The lower the volatility, the less the ups and downs, or the shorter those ups and downs are going to be to try to stabilize those returns. Okay, so this is what we call a rules-based index or rules-based strategy. That basically means that it's an investment strategy based on various predetermined investment rules. So these rules are set in place, and we try to follow those rules. Okay, you can see the expertise, the long history that we have with Fidelity. Fidelity is a household name. Everybody knows who Fidelity is, right? You see the middle one there, where it's this multi-factor approach, right? So you're going to provide exposure again to those smaller size stocks with a focus on value, quality, momentum, and then again you see this word lower volatility. Okay, and then the one on the right where it says consistency. Okay, it combines multiple factors with a volatility control. Okay, so what is a volatility control index or fund, whatever the case is? Okay, or how does that work? I heard this maybe a couple of years ago that really helped me kind of break it down and understand. So if you think again, what is a volatility controlled index and how does it work? If you've ever watched, here's my analogy. Okay, if you've ever watched gymnastics or figure skating or diving or some other sport like that in the Olympics where the competitors are judged on performance, you will always notice that a competitor's overall score does not include the highest or the lowest, right, scores that are given by those judges. They take them out and then they average out the ones in the middle. Okay, this is meant to provide a more accurate assessment of that athlete's performance by eliminating the most bullish and again the most discriminating evaluations. They take those out and they focus on the ones in the middle. Okay, volatility control indexes are actively managed to limit the extreme highs and the extreme lows, and they focus on everything in the middle. Okay, that's what we mean by kind of volatility control. All right. So again, this whole balanced uncapped version, 34% to the S&P 500, 33% to the Nikkei 225, and then 33% to the one you're looking at here, the SMID is what we call it. Okay. Now, I told you that it has a 113% participation rate. What does that mean? Okay, so if we added up all those indices that I just talked about, we got the change, and that change for the year, those added up to 10%. Whatever that adds up to, we are now going to tag on 113%. So in this example, if those added up to 10%, the credit rate would be 11.3 because of the 113% participation rate. Okay? Doesn't matter if it's 2, 5, 8, 20, 50%, we're still going to add that 113% participation rate on top of that. Now, if we do all of that and it comes out negative, nothing changes on the downside that we're used to. Okay? We are still going to have that guaranteed floor, right? So if we add all those up and it's negative 6%, we're still going to credit the client back at 0.75%. That does not change. Okay? All right. You are all familiar, you that have sold the FFIU in the past, you're familiar with the global index. Okay? There is one change that we've made to this. We have taken out the Hang Seng, okay? And we simply replaced it with the Nikkei 225 that we just talked about. So this is the new global index, okay? And I will tell you there is a typo right here. This little word right here, it's an important typo, right? That should be higher, not lower, okay? So the way that we do this in the global index is we have the S&P 500, we have the Euro Stoxx 50, and now we have the Nikkei 225, and that replaces the Hang Seng. So what we do is we add those up, right? And then 50% of the weight is going to go to either the S&P 500 or the Euro Stoxx 50, whichever one is higher. 30% will go to the other one, the one that is lower between the S&P 500 and the Euro Stoxx 50. And then 20% is always going to go to the new Nikkei 225. That doesn't change. Always going to get 20%. Okay? All right. So just a couple of updates here with the cap rates. Cap rates went up by 25 basis points for the global account or the global index account and the S&P 500 index account, which means the new max illustration rate is also 25 basis points higher. It's at 7.25 instead of 7. Okay, so this is kind of the new lineup right here. Okay, this is kind of in a nutshell the new index account lineup. So the one on the top that you're going to see is the one we just spent a lot of time on, which is that balanced uncapped index account. We talked about the 113% participation rate. It is uncapped. Again, that means whatever return your client gets, right, we are going to add on that 113%. The floor, you'll see here, the floor doesn't change. It is the same as we've always known it, as 0.75. The index account charge has not changed. It's still 0.72. A lot of you might see it referred to as 0.06% a month. Same thing, right? Just times 12, it's that 0.72% annually. You'll see the max illustration rate. And then on the right, you can see the 20-year historical gross of 10.46. That's pretty impressive, okay? We're familiar with the global and the S&P. The only things that we just talked about, the change is now it's 13.25 instead of 13 and 12.25 instead of 12. Nothing else has changed except the illustration rate. And then there's also a new, what we call basic S&P 500 index account, okay? I think this is important. You'll see, here's the kind of the difference or what you need to make sure you're aware of. You'll see the cap rate, okay? The cap rate for this basic S&P is 9%, but there's no charge, okay? So if you have clients that just don't want to charge and they love the S&P 500, that is another option for them. Here's what I will tell you that I think is a really good strategy, maybe going forward. You might have clients that you want that are younger, right? And you get them inside of one of these indexes while they're young and they're growing and they're getting older. But maybe when they stop paying, or maybe when they think about retiring, you switch them over, right, to this index account while where there's no charge, right? And so that money starts growing from that time they retire on. That keeps growing without that index charge. Okay, so that's a strategy that some people are kind of considering. We do have increased target premiums. That simply means there's more money in your pockets for you guys. You can see here that there was a more of a focus on those male clients or sales. So on average, the adult males are the target premiums are going up by 11%, 6% on the adult females, no change to the juveniles. We have a new ability inside the illustration software to illustrate monthly income. It's always been on an annual basis, but now you can illustrate monthly if you want to. And then look, I think this is important. The cost of insurance charges are eliminated after age 95. That's a big deal. We've never done that before, right? So as long as the death benefit remains in corridor, we're not going to see those costs of insurance. Those are eliminated after age 95. Which you guys know that. You're trying to insure a 98-year-old or 100-year-old, that can be super, super expensive, right? All right, real quick, the new monthly sweep date, okay? And again, this is something we can come back and talk about. I'm gonna hit on this very quickly, but I talked to Lizelle about coming back and doing a 4 or 5 part series just on the FFIUL, starting very high level and doing a deep dive into how the indexes work, what are the costs associated with all this, right? Because these things aren't free, and you need to know what the costs are. But more importantly, all right, if I have a 4% premium expense charge, right? That's our premium expense charge. You might know that there's a 4% premium expense charge, but wouldn't it be pretty cool to know, all right, what is Transamerica doing with that 4%? What's the purpose behind the premium expense charge, right? So we come back and we can define all those, okay? But if you look here, okay, the sweep date that is the premium less the premium. This is the first thing I talk about when we talk about cost. Let's just say I have $100 premium that I'm sending into Transamerica every month, okay? Well, most people think that $100 goes right into the index and starts working on the FFIUL. Is that how it works? No, that's not how it works. We take out the premium expense charge first, okay? So in my example, that 4% premium expense charge comes off, so that $100 is now $96. So $96 now gets swept on the 15th of the month into the index account, okay? So funds are allocated into the index account, and then any excess index interest is credited at the end of that segment period, okay? So the 15th of the month, that's when everything gets put into that index. And then you can see here on the 15th of the month, 1 year later, okay, after the new segments policy charges are covered, any matured segment value, anything that's grown here, plus any new money or new premiums that go in, right, are placed into that new segment, and the cycle just repeats itself, okay? It just keeps doing that over and over and over again. So again, that I explained that pretty quick. That's something that when we do a class, we can get more into and show you how that works even further. And then look, the riders and the benefits, nothing's going away with the LTC rider. There's a new, what we call cost of care that has been added to the Life Illustrator, okay? Basically, it's really cool. So you can go in and click on the LTC rider, and there's a button that you can check that says, I want to illustrate how that works, okay? And it will, based off the state that you're in, part of that long-term care illustration that you're gonna show your clients, there's one page that will show you, hey, okay, they're in the state of Nevada. What is the average cost to have someone come in your home to take care of you when you're on long-term care? Or what is the average cost to go into a private facility in your state. And those numbers are very eye-opening. There is a lot of money. So it's a really cool selling tool, if you will, to kind of show your clients what that is and to help sell that long-term care rider being attached to that. Living benefits aren't going anywhere. We still have the critical, chronic. One thing that we did do an upgrade is those are now available up to age 75. It used to be 70 for those preferred tobacco risk classes. And then a really piece of good news, especially if you're in these states. But we've had the concierge planning rider for a while now, but there have been several states where we were not able to attach those. They weren't approved. And you can see those states that now have it. Okay. Again, we kind of touched on a little bit about this, but premium expense charge is 4%. That hasn't changed. That is super competitive in the marketplace. A lot of products out there have 6 to 8% premium expense charge. The cost of insurance, we talked about the corridor and that going away at age 95. The puck charge hasn't changed. That index account monthly charge is up to 16 years. The monthly policy fee doesn't matter if it's a $100,000 policy or 10 million. It's $10 a month. Okay, we talked about that IAMC charge of 0.06, and we talked about the new index that has no IAMC, and then the surrender charge duration period has not changed. That is 15 years. All right. Now, Lizelle, Don, it is 8:50. I want to make sure I respect your guys' time. What would be more valuable? Do you want to go into the illustration software real quick and kind of show you a few things in there?
Yes, Rick, and then we can just set another date for the choice RUL.
Yeah, again, there's just a few changes here. Again, this being only 2 to 5% of your business, we can briefly touch on this at a later point. Okay.
Yes, and so you're gonna go over with the illustration first before we accept questions.
Let's go questions right now. I'm just getting in here, and then we can. But yeah, let's ask away.
Okay, team. So the floor is open for questions. I've heard that we have questions about illustrations, the new applications, or the new system on applications. So go ahead. Just unmute your line, please.
Hey, Rick. This is Edwina.
How are you?
I'm good. I just want to, I want to see this illustration part because there's mostly a lot of problems with all my clients. Basically, when I do the application, I know they've been always asking for illustration on all the policies now, but it seems like a back and forth. I don't know where the line of confusion lies. Okay. So I need to see how you do this and see what clarification we could change in the future.
Okay, I'm going to go over a couple things. But Edwina, if we need to, because we only got a few minutes here left, what we can do is be more than happy to set some one-on-one time up with you to get into this further, or get Jesse with you to make sure. But let's do that. If it's not enough tonight, let's set up some one-on-one, and we can do this with anybody, okay? Or we can do smaller groups or whatever the case is. But please reach out to me individually if you need more than what you see tonight. Does that make sense?
Can I speak? Edwina, Rick, my name is Virginia Ebner. I assist a lot of agents. It's not even it is always a problem for us.
Okay.
For me, as an assistant, assisting everybody, what is happening is when a policy is approved and then it's not approved what they applied for, they always tell us to make a new illustration and resubmit it, and the client, we have to make an appointment with the client to sign it before they can issue the policy, and the policy get incomplete.
Yeah, that should.
This is
that-
a lot, this happened too many times from the, 3 months from until now. And I always I try to explain it all the time because they will say, you need to make an illustration. Now,
Okay.
the problem again, they will send me to the sales, and the sales is really upset because I have 4 illustration for them to help us because the approval is different what we have applied for.
Okay. All right. No, you should not have to go get a wet signature. You shouldn't have to do that. There's a couple different things that you can do. And again, we'll see how far we get. I'm just going to very quickly, you guys are familiar with this, just maybe, Edwina, and I'm sorry, whoever spoke last, maybe you guys can keep yourself unmuted and just kind of walk through but you're familiar with the e-app, correct? Edwina?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. All right. I'm just going to put Don in here, and so for those of you who are not familiar with this, we want this illustration to transfer over into the IGO application. Okay. The only way that we can do that is by clicking this e-app, but you'll notice it's grayed out. I can't do anything right now. If we want to transfer this over, this right here has to be, you can certainly run an illustration and just put the age, but we want to make sure we put the actual date of birth in there. Okay, you have to do it in this format for that e-app button to work. Okay, I don't even know what the policy design is. It doesn't really matter. Okay, let me do this real quick. I'll go to the riders. Maybe I'll show you the long-term care that I just got done talking about, that we want to illustrate it. Okay. But besides that, let me just show you real quick the new index account. So we got all the new global, there's the new balanced uncapped index account. As long as those equal 100%, right, you're good to go. Doesn't mean you can mix and match. Okay. But let's just calculate that. Okay. You'll now see that the e-app button is available. Okay. If I click on the e-app button, I should get a message that pops up that tells me, okay, it's transferred over. So the first thing that you should do, the most important thing before so it says new case successfully created. Okay. Before you go into the IGO, okay, make sure you're coming over here and you're saving that case. Okay. I'm Don client. I'm just going to save that. You can create folders, November, just whatever you want to do. Okay. Save that case. All right. Now let's go. Let me go back into Agent Home. Now we're going to go into the application. We've done our illustration. Okay, and now we're in the application software. If I view my cases, the very first one that pops up should be Don, the one we just did. Okay, I want to show you a couple things. Let's just go, let's open the case. Let's just hurry and we'll do the FFIUL. That's the one we did. Okay, all right. Now we're inside the application. There's a couple things I want to show you, because this, I think, where you guys are getting a little confused. The very next thing is the illustration acknowledgement. Okay, so you'll see right here. I want you just to read this with me. This case includes an illustration created from the life illustration, the thing we just created and moved over, right? And data associated with that illustration. If any of the following data is changed in the case, the illustration is invalidated and will be automatically deleted. So you could be going through here. Again, you just mentioned that it might be an underwriter saying it's other, we put preferred elite, okay? And the underwriter comes back and says, all right, we're approving this, but it's standard. So it's other than applied for. It's not what we applied for, okay? That's something that we'd have to go back and change, okay? But any of these that you change inside of the application, if you change any one of these, that's also going to delete this illustration and make you go rerun another, okay, and add it to the attachment screen, okay? So let's just, you see, the very first one is product, okay? If we go to product, let's say you're going through the application and your client says, hey, Edwina, I don't want 300,000. I want 500,000. And you make that change here. Okay. If you do that, if I come down to the, I think it's the attachments, it will tell you, I just made that change from 300 to 500. This case included an illustration created from Life Illustration Platform, and data associated with it has been changed. Key data has been changed, which invalid. So it's telling you something happened and that illustration is no longer valid. It's gone. Okay. So it could be one of those things that's on that list, or it could be other than applied for, like you guys are talking about, like it just comes back other than applied for. If that's the case, okay, now what you have to do is you have to go back into the Illustrator. Okay, and let's just pull up the cake. That's why you want to save this, right? Don right there. Okay, and we would in the one I did, we would have to go to policy design and change this to 500,000 because you did it inside of the application. Okay, if it was an underwriter telling you to, hey, look, it's no longer preferred elite, it's preferred, you would have to go make that change. Okay, but the most important thing is now that we are redoing it, it's considered a revised illustration. So click on that box. You can you don't have to put the policy number in, but you have a policy number now, right? So you would do that, okay? And let's just go back and change this to 500 like we did. We're gonna calculate it now. Okay, you can go resave that, but right here on the cover page, you're going to see a button that says Save and Enable Signature, e-signatures. So we're going to click on that. It pulls up a PDF right here. Okay, and I'm going to save. I'm just going to save. This is where you might have to save it to your desktop. I literally have like a test illustration. So I'm going to put Don client, save it to my desktop in my folder. Okay. And then I go back into my attachments. Are you providing an illustration with this application? This is where you want to say, yes, I'm going to attach a new illustration. Is it signed? No, I want it to be signed with the application. And I just go browse, pull up that application. There's Don client, attach it. And now it is back in there, ready to go. So does that kind of help explain maybe what you're not seeing or not doing?
Yeah, we did that, Rick, but what happened was, when we do the illustration, the revised illustration, the premium goes up instead of, let's say, it's 173. Because we revised the illustration, the approved premium is 173. When we do revise illustration, it goes up again to 180. And then when there were, what was approved is 173. not 184. That's why we asked for, they send us again to the sales,
Okay.
which is they're not really happy because we cannot change the illustration, like do it when was it approved. The illustration will say now, then it's a different premium amount.
Okay. Let's do that. Let's just take this offline and we can kind of continue this
Okay.
discussion. And if we need to get someone like from the back office that can help us kind of maybe point us in the right direction and figure this out, that's what we want
Thank you.
to do. We look,
Yeah.
we don't, this whole process needs to be easier for you guys, not harder, not more difficult. And so
Yeah.
let's make sure we get everything you guys need and make sure that you are understanding it. So just for the purpose of time's sake, let's take this offline and get a whole nother group together if we need to during the day. Here's what I would love to do is, I know some of you are full timers. Maybe we can do something during the day, and I can get someone that's kind of helped develop this and kind of make sure that you're getting your questions answered from a kind of like a developer perspective and see what we need to be doing.
Yeah, I am Don Don's assistant, and I'm 24/7.
If you're working for Don, you are 24/7. That's
Yes. Yeah.
okay. All right. Well, listen. I want to respect your guys' time. It's right after the hour now. So, look, thank you so much. I am excited about the new FFIUL and the actual product itself. I'm excited about the way this is done. So let's just make sure that you guys are, you're caught up to speed on how this is going, making sure that. And if you're seeing things like you're saying the premium's changing and therefore it's making you come back, let's make sure we get all that answer and figure that out.
Yes.
Yeah, Rick.
Thank
Rick, I just have one question. What if we just click, client didn't receive an illustration? So what's the difference? What's the outcome? What's the effect?
So it should be on delivery. So you're either the best outcome is you select. We go through the process that I just showed you, and it says as applied for, nothing changes, and it gets signed. Part of the application is the illustration process. Worst case to me should be we don't get it in the IGO application on time, but we get the application signed on delivery, right?
Yeah.
You should never, to me, unless something is super weird that I'm not aware of, the days of kind of wet signatures with the application should be gone, right? And so again, let's just make sure we're coming back and having all those questions answered for you.
Okay, so we'll set a good schedule, Rick, for that.
Yep.
Okay, so I think we're over time for 6 minutes. What we can do is set up another training for this. There's a lot of new informations with our new FFIUL, and next week, team, we're gonna have Militia to train us about Everest, and then November 18 we'll have Rick back, for him to explain the new funeral plan of Transamerica. Then Rick probably will going to keep requesting you to train us because I've had a lot of topics that we can talk to. The freedom choice, the foreign nationals, and juvenile for at least the rest of the year, if you're available. So we would love to hear from you again.
Okay, no, sounds good. And I do see, I see some questions inside the chat. I don't know if we want to try to get to those, but.
Go ahead.
I see Tunjing. I have a client who's under DACA. I believe he falls under target client. Yeah, so I think it was 3 years ago, might be able to be updated with chronic and critical. Then again, send me an email on that one. I can check on that one for you, Jing. And then, let's see, I think that was it. When I submitted the application, attached all the documents, I received an email asking to send them the documents. Yeah, I don't know why they're doing that. It's kind of redundant. It is redundant. So again, let's get through the illustration, making sure we get all that ready, and then we'll make that part of it as well. We'll get through that question as well.
Thank you, and welcome back, Ate Marie of Santa Clarita. So that's all, Rick, and we'll see you again in the next 2 weeks.
Okay, see ya. Bye bye, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you, Rick.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.